I want to talk to you about enjoyment of life. Enjoyment of life. Are you enjoying the things that you're doing right now? And I know that that's easier to say than to actually do, because this morning when I was reading the book of Ecclesiastes, and I'm going to go into that in just a little bit, I was just thinking about all of the things that, has occurred in my life, and all of the busyness and all of the work that I've done. And I'm sure you can relate. It seems like everybody's just so incredibly busy right now. But are we actually enjoying life and doing what we love doing? So this is going to be a two-part series called Enjoyment of Life. Part one is going to be called Doing What You Love, and part two is going to be called Letting Go of the Past. So let's start off reading a little bit from Ecclesiastes, because what I want to do, I pray that by the time this episode is over, you've taken some time to sit and think through, am I really enjoying life and doing what I love doing? And I understand firsthand, we have bills to pay and a million and one other responsibilities. And sometimes you find yourself in situations where you're doing things you really don't love doing, but you're just trying to do it, just so you can get by and do whatever, until you can get to that goal or to that dream. But I pray that what you're about to learn lights a little bit of a fire under you, that we're really not here for that long, you all. We really are not. And there's a beautiful passage in Ecclesiastes that I want to read. I want us to learn a little bit from King Solomon. I get up in the morning when it's still pretty dark outside, and that's the time I try to sit and meditate and read. And this just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's so important that we are enjoying life and we're doing the work that we love doing. It's actually considered a gift of God. It literally is considered a gift from God. So let's read this really quickly. This is part one, which is doing what you love. So turn over to Ecclesiastes in chapter 5. And I'm just going to pick it up maybe from verse 15 or so. He says, naked a man comes from his mother's womb, and as he comes, so he departs. He takes nothing from his labor that he can carry in his hand. This too is a grievous evil. As a man comes, so he departs. And what does he gain, since he toils for the wind? All his days he eats in darkness with great frustration, affliction, and anger. Now I'm in verse 18. Then I realize that it is good and proper for a man to eat and drink, and to find satisfaction in his toilsome labor under the sun during the few days of life God has given him. For this is his lot. Moreover, when God gives any man wealth and possessions and enables him to enjoy them, to accept his lot and be happy in his work, this is a gift of God. He seldom reflects on the days of his life, because God keeps him occupied with gladness of heart. And then he just goes on to talk about that, a man can live, hundreds of years and have many children, but if you can't enjoy, your prosperity, if you can't enjoy what you do, he just goes on to say, like, you're supposed to be enjoying and living and having the enjoyment of life while you're here. That's really what King Solomon is really talking about. Now, for those of you who don't know much about King Solomon, he was one of the richest people that ever lived. Lots of wisdom, lots of wealth. He's the one that said that he denied himself nothing that his eyes desire, that every single thing he wanted, he basically got. And he came to realize, and I think this was more toward the conclusion, the end of his life, he came to realize that, you know what? Naked a man comes from his mother's womb, and naked he departs. We can't even take anything with us. And he goes on to question himself, saying, basically, what is all this anxious striving really all about? And if you read, more into the book of Ecclesiastes, you'll see there's a part in there where he talks about you have to leave everything you've worked so hard for to others. And he says, and even to your descendants, to your children, who knows whether they'll be a fool or not. I mean, he gets pretty deep with it. He's basically just saying, you can work your whole life, right? All this anxious striving, trying to keep, trying to get this and get that. But the bottom line is that when we leave, we actually can't take any of it with us. And I've actually talked about that before. I've talked about my son a number of times on this platform, that one of the most shocking things to me is when I saw him in that casket, it just dawned on me that nothing was going with him. Not his laptop, like nothing was, his new shoes he had just purchased. Like there was nothing that, not his car. Like there was nothing that we could put inside of the casket to go with him. Naked we come from our mother's womb, and naked we return. So what are we to do in the meantime? Now, we all know that we're to glorify and honor God. I strongly believe in that. We're supposed to be helping others, helping make disciples, helping people come to know who God is. But I love that in this part of this passage, Solomon focused on, I realize that it is good and proper for a man to eat and drink, and to find satisfaction in his toilsome labor under the sun. And I love that he says during the few days of life God has given him. There are a number of passages in the Bible that talks about how we're a mist. We're here today, we're gone tomorrow. And I love how he refers to our entire lifespan as just a few days. Because really, when you think about it, that's pretty much what it comes to be, if you look at it in the grand picture. So my question for you, because I don't want anyone feeling down about this, I'm here to encourage and build you up. What are you doing to enjoy life and enjoy your work that, the work that you've set out to do? Are you getting out of that familiar territory and doing things that may make you uncomfortable because it's not quite what you're used to doing, but you're called to do it? You know that there's an anointing, a calling in your life, and this is in your heart of hearts what you really want to do, Kind of like, with myself, I absolutely love encouraging people. I love people. I don't care what your race is, your background, where you're from. It's just naturally who I am. In fact, I tell God every morning, I say, God, I love you, and I love your people so much. I just do. And I have some friends who are like, girl, I don't know how you do it, because everywhere you go, you talk to everybody. People get on my nerves, and you said to talk to everybody. I don't know what it is, but there's something in people that I just love, and I'm just drawn to all people, all kinds, from all around the world. But anyway, the point I'm getting at is that what I love doing is what I'm doing now. And this is not an easy transition when you step into that unfamiliar territory and you begin to make changes in your life. I'm going somewhere with this, you guys. You begin to make changes in your life to be in alignment with that calling that's on your life. And I'm praying, I pray to God that as you're listening to this episode, something in you is starting to wake up where you're thinking, you know what, that's right. We're really not here forever. And even though it may be uncomfortable making these transitions, I need to do and focus on heading in the direction of what I'm called to do. Whatever that gift or that anointing, that talent is that God has given you. I love that Solomon says that it is a gift. Let me get his exact words. He said, this is a gift from God. It is a gift from God when God gives any man wealth and possessions and enables him to enjoy them, to accept his lot, and to be happy in his work. So my question for you is, are you happy in your work with what you're doing? Can you have an honest conversation with yourself and ask yourself, are you happy in your work? And I'm not making a judgment on it. It's just a question I'm asking. I want you to make sure you comment and let me know. Are you happy in the work that you're doing? Now, I didn't say, are you good at what you do? Because that's a little different. You can have a skill set in doing something, but are you happy in the work that you're doing? Are you really feeling fulfilled? And if that answer is no, the question is, what then are you going to do to begin to walk in alignment with maybe some of the decisions or choices you're going to have to make to go into that unfamiliar territory? Every morning when my staff comes in, we have a team meeting, and we actually read something. It's actually about a 2 or 3 page statement where we read through. I won't go into detail about it, but it's basically a statement reminding us that we have to go into that, be comfortable. Don't be so comfortable in the familiar territory, sort of like that security blanket. Don't be so comfortable in that familiar territory when you know that there's a higher calling, something else that may scare you a little bit, but that you're called to do, that can actually, render better results in your life. But because you're not sure if it'll work out, or because maybe you're a little afraid of what happens if I fail, or what will people say, or what will people think, or some of you are thinking this right now, but I've been in this career path all my life. I've been doing this one particular job all my life, right? Right? And so the thought of making that transition can be very, very, very scary. And the vast majority of people stay in that familiar territory because it's comfortable. And my question for you is, are you happy in your work? And if you're not, what are you going to do about it? Because tomorrow's not promised. Are you happy in your work? So I pray that you take some time to go to God in prayer on this. I pray that you take some time to just sit. I like to get up in the morning and just sit and do my best to just meditate and be still and just ask God, what do you have for me today? What is it that you want me to do, Lord? How can I glorify and honor you in my life? Show me what it is you want me to do. Part of those meetings that I have in the morning with my team, every time we have those meetings, we make a decision. What quantum leap are we going to take today? And it's something recently we just started doing, and they absolutely love it. Because when we come together in our little circle and we talk and we read this, it's like a 2.5, almost a 3-page document. We end it with, okay, so what quantum leap are we going to take today? What are we going to do today that's going to make us feel maybe a little uncomfortable? Maybe it's something that we didn't quite, finish, or that we didn't do, or we didn't complete doing, or something that calls us higher, or territory we are completely not familiar with, right? But we're going to take that step in that direction. What are we going to do to get a little uncomfortable to take it just a little bit higher? And when you continue to do that every day, when you make those kind of decisions, so in other words with you, what am I going to do today that would make me a little uncomfortable, maybe a lot uncomfortable, right? But it absolutely is heading in that direction I want to go. Should I go enroll in that cooking class, right? Should I go back to school and get this degree in whatever? Right? Should I, and I'm not telling you to leave your job, just to be clear, but do I need to start putting some things into place so that I can get my own business up and going, start my own, nonprofit or whatever it is, right? Write that book that I've been afraid to write because I'm afraid of what people are going to, maybe there's some fears. You're afraid of what people are going to think about you, what they're going to say, right? Or if they're even going to like the book or even buy the book or whatever, or start that program that's been in my heart to do. Or go and try to get funding and get that grant writing done, whatever it is. What decision are you going to make that makes you a little uncomfortable or a lot uncomfortable, right? But that's going to be like a quantum, like a major leap in your life. And the reason why I want to challenge you with that, I just want to read this one part again. Naked a man comes from his mother's womb, and as he comes, so he departs. He takes nothing from his labor that he can carry in his hands. I'm going to jump to verse 18 again. Then I realized that it is good and proper for a man to eat and drink and to find satisfaction in his toilsome labor under the sun during the few days of life God has given him. I think that's very, very powerful coming from King Solomon. Because after he had acquired pretty much everything in life that you can possibly think of, right? He came to the conclusion what really matters is enjoyment of life. Enjoying the work that you do. And he even goes on to say this in and of itself is a gift from God. To be able to accept his lot and be happy in his work. So I pray you all are challenged. I love you, I love you, I love you. Stay tuned for part 2. You're listening to Unlocking Greatness Podcast with Zenja. Love you all.